Okay, welcome to a very quick impromptu ramble because I was on my way home, back to my flat in the car, and suddenly I see a notification from Valve, which is unlike Valve because they never do something, but today they did something and announced 3 new pieces of hardware coming next year, most likely Q1 2026. We all know it's the Steam Frame, also called the Decade for a very long time. And that's finally being announced, along with 2 other pieces of kit, which we kind of expected, but one which surprised me a little bit. So today we're going to be talking about that. Let's thank our patrons and members. They're all on screen right now. And let's talk the Steam Frame, the Steam Machine, and the Steam Controller. Let's start with the most simple of the bunch. The new Steam Controller is basically a Steam Deck cut down the middle with the screen taken out, and I think this is pretty much perfect. This is exactly what I wanted from a Steam controller. Keep those trackpads, they're so good for certain types of games like RTSs, playing Dawn of War or Total War. It's not quite the versatility of a mouse, of course, and a keyboard, but you're getting there. And for browsing the web especially, that sounds like a very old statement there, browsing the web, but you get what I mean. Very handy to have. I'm very glad they're there. The capacitive and adaptive touch there in terms of the haptics are the best that I might have ever seen from a trackpad on the actual Steam Deck. They're really underrated feature. Glad to see them here. And the design, the comfortable design of the Steam Deck is here too in the controller. Great to see that, and it'll also pair with the Steam Frame, I assume. Next up is the Steam Machine. I'm actually really excited about this. Of course, the VR headset is the talk of the town in the VR space, but the Steam Machine itself is really exciting to me because I've got some people who I personally know who are very interested in PC gaming but want something a bit more simple. They don't want to really mess around with Windows. They want to have something that's plug and play. That's exactly what this is going to be. Basically a Steam Deck, but bigger, in kind of like the half form factor of an Xbox Series X, approaching that sort of performance. So it's 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck is what Valve are saying. The GPU is custom made by AMD along with Valve. Basically a console for your living room. And if this works with PC VR well, which hopefully it will, then I think we're really in the running here with a DisplayPort on the back, HDMI ports as well, USB ports, all sorts of stuff, and with 2 models for different space for storage. So that's fantastic. 512 gigabytes or 2 terabytes I think is a good starting point here, along with micro SD cards like the Steam Deck has. This is super cool. I'm excited they've announced this now. I didn't expect this early. I was kind of expecting it along with the next Steam Deck iteration, but here it is now, and I genuinely have some people who I know who will probably go out and buy this because they want that streamlined experience. Again, I have my qualms with Linux on my Steam Deck, although I do love that piece of kit. Some games do work great, some games don't. EA games, for example, their anti-cheat has a complete hissy fit, and technically it can boot camp, but it's really annoying. So I prefer just to run them native. Most games work fine though, and I think the power of this thing will really open up PC gaming to some people who were maybe put off by it in the past. Problem is, we don't have a price yet, and I'd love to know what ballpark they're aiming for here. If it's within console ballpark of like $400 to $600, I think it'll do really well. If it's more expensive, I think we might have a little bit of a problem, but hopefully we get a bit more of a restrained pricing point here. But we have 16 gigs of DDR5 memory, GPU, again, custom, but 110 watt TDP, 8 gigabytes of VRAM, which is okay. We're looking at like similar to Nvidia's more budget lineup as well in terms of VRAM there. But I'm very excited to kind of see where this goes. And streaming between the Steam Frame and the Steam Machine eventually apparently is going to be a thing, which will be cool. So you'll be able to put on your Steam Frame and jump into PC VR wirelessly at any second that you want. Now, let's talk of the actual Steam Frame itself. This is the main thing here, although personally, again, I'm really excited for the Steam Machine for certain people to be able to jump into PC VR, and maybe even if that gets iterated on in the future, maybe instead of picking up a PC, I'll pick up a Steam Machine 2 or something when my PC eventually bites the dust or becomes a little bit outdated. I think that's a genuine, really cool option. Anyway, Steam Frame itself, this confused me a little bit, and I was speaking on Twitter to Marty Dude VR earlier today actually, saying I don't get it. I don't get the Steam Frame. I don't understand what it's for. Is the fact that you can play Steam games in a window, is that what it's for? The fact that you can play flat screen games on a floating monitor, because you can already do that with certain headsets or with certain peripherals. But I think I finally get it, in terms of offering a different alternative to, say, the Quest for wireless PC VR, especially linking with the Steam Machine or just your computer on Steam, and allowing native games to be run on it with like a Quest-style performance. A bit lighter than a Quest as well, a bit smaller. Its form factor looks pretty good, and the controller's looking nice. I think I know where this slots in the niche of VR now. So we have a mobile chipset, of course, but the wireless dongle in the box will allow you to stream to your gaming PC. So I'm quite excited for that. Really interested to see how the performance does there. No base stations, of course. It has inside-out tracking, as we kind of expect. One thing which did confuse me a little bit is we have monochrome pass-through here. Now, I use PSVR 2 all the time that has monochrome pass-through, and I'm completely fine with it. That headset did come out 3 years ago, almost now. So I feel like the standard right now in current VR market is color pass-through, especially if your headset is allowing you to play these flat-screen games on a floating monitor, Vision Pro or Quest 3 style. I feel like color pass-through is quite important for that, if that makes sense. So interested to see how that looks in headset, how clean that feed is. Does have eye tracking though, so great to see that here, and I think that'll really kind of boost up and maybe bring some of the VR chat community into buying this headset, who maybe were stuck with the Index beforehand. Speaking of the Index, no longer making that, completely fair. This is their new flagship Valve headset, and I'm glad it's here because now we can stop with the speculation that kept some people going schizophrenic at points. Talking specs here, the actual build of it is foam on either side, it's padded, and I'm glad that the back kind of deforms and collapses when you lean back. For something like this, which indulges you in flat screen and VR gaming, when you want to sit back and play a game wirelessly from, say, your Steam machine or whatever, or your PC, it's going to allow you to kind of tilt your head back and lie back and not have it press awkwardly into your head. Look, I love my PSVR 2, I love watching some stuff on it occasionally, even though it's not really built for that, but that back headband is quite big, and looking at the Steam frame here, that is looking really good, pretty comfortable, and the fact that it's the lightest standalone headset to date is awesome. I think it's about 440 grams from what we can see here. Pancake lenses here as well with 2K LCD panels, which combines to overall a 4K resolution together, about the same as Quest 3, and double the Index, according to Upload VR here. Really happy with that, to be honest. I know some people were pining for OLED, but I think for the price point they're going to go for, which hopefully is sub $1,000. Again, we don't have a specific price point for it. I think this sits nicely there. I think it's about the best that we can get. 72Hz and 120Hz are the options for refresh rate, with an experimental 144Hz. Same of the Index, according to Upload VR. Again, haven't really used the Index myself very often. About standard there. And I'm quite excited for a Pancake lens headset from Valve, to be honest. I think this is really going to offer a different option to the Quest 3 for people who don't want to get into the Meta ecosystem. I think that's going to be one of the main draws here. For PCVR and standalone, you can now get a headset that doesn't make you opt into all of the stuff that Quest and Meta want you to do if you don't want to get involved in that. I understand some people don't care and they want to go with Meta, completely fair, but if you want a different option, this is now here, so that's fantastic. Now, there's loads that I could dissect here further, but I think finally for my point here that kind of resonates with me as somebody with poorer Wi-Fi when I'm at home. At uni, my Wi-Fi is pretty fast, quite fast, but at home, my Wi-Fi is not really the strongest to do wireless streaming, but Valve are making a point-to-point system here with the dongle and the headset itself. So there's no tether here, no wire, there's no DisplayPort HDMI in or anything like that. It's a streaming device, which is really, really interesting to me and really, really cool, I think. So essentially, it'll have that tethered point-to-point, or you can use streaming with your own Wi-Fi if you have a strong setup already, which I know some people, again, Marty Dude VR, another creator that I mentioned earlier, has quite a strong wireless system already. If you have that in place, you're set to go, but if you don't, Valve have this controllable, bespoke system, point-to-point, that you can use. And I'm really excited to see how well that works with maybe routers and networks that aren't as strong. I think that's kind of where the pitfalls are in certain wireless systems. The foveated rendering here as well with the eye tracking is not for performance on the PC side of things either, it's for encoding and getting it to the headset in the highest resolution where you're looking. So where you're looking will be high resolution and encoded well, and the rest of it can kind of be more relaxed on and free up bandwidth. And I think that's really, really smart, and I'm really excited to see how that works in person. I'm guessing it's very similar to how PSVR 2 uses eye tracking for performance directly in headsets. So really cool ideas here. I'm loving what Valve are doing. So I'm excited to hopefully get my hands on it next year at some point if I can. If anyone from Valve sees this, hello, I love the Steam Deck, done many videos. Just kidding. But it's looking great. I'm glad there's another option for standalone VR users and PC VR users, and I'm glad it's from Valve. I'm just hoping when we get to this, on launch day, it's attainable, because I know some countries still struggle with Steam Deck in terms of getting their hands on one. It's probably going to be the same for the Steam Frame. Even in the UK here, the first couple of waves of the Steam Deck, I remember that happening, even though I wasn't looking for one at the time, I was watching it quite closely, was rough trying to get your hands on one. So I'm hoping that when push comes to shove, these are easy to get if you want one, but that all relies on kind of Valve's infrastructure of how they've set up their supply chain and distribution. For what we know, though, all these products are in mass production now and are basically getting ready to be put on store shelves, or digital store shelves, should I say. So exciting. But I will say, one tip as well, when this thing does drop, you might want to preload your money into your Steam account, because some of the payout options crash on these product launches. So to have your money in your Steam account means you'll be able to not rely on an external thing that might crash, like PayPal. When the product launches, you can just use your Steam wallet, and that'll allow you to buy what you want. So thank you so much for watching. I'm excited for the Steam Frame, despite the monochrome pass-through and, LCD display, whatever. No hand tracking, at least at the moment, but that could always be done later. For the wireless PCVR streaming and the standalone stuff and the eye tracking, I'm super excited to see where they go with this, and I'm also really excited for the Steam Machine. So let me know if you are in the comments below, and I hope to see you all in the next one.